7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, and welcome to the Marketing Essentials podcast. Our unique team helps small businesses grow by providing essential marketing expertise.
Hello and welcome to the Marketing Essentials podcast. I'm Bill with Parmentier Photography.
I'm Justin with Justin Kerr Design.
And I'm Alicia with the Spark Social.
And together we make up
The Marketing Essentials team.
So today
Yeah.
we are talking about branding, and specifically we're talking about how Bill and I worked together to develop his brand.
Yes, we looked at back, was it 2016? Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's been a few years, but
Nice.
So how do you want to start this, Justin? I'm going to kind of let this go in your...
Well, I think we should probably start with where you were. So you and I started our businesses about the same time.
Yeah, fairly close to the same time as far as full-time, yeah.
Yeah, first part of 2016. And you had been, unlike me, you had sort of done some serious freelance prior to that.
Yeah, I did a lot of part-time work prior to that.
Right. But you knew, okay, this is now I'm going in full-time and I need a brand developed.
Yes.
So he's like, hey, can you help me with that? And I said, sure. I think one of the advantages is that we had known each other a long time, so I already had some good insight on you.
Yes.
But still, I needed to go through the branding process to make sure that the brand we developed was a good fit. So where were you, kind of walk me through what your mindset was. Like, when you asked me to help you develop a brand, what were you thinking? You were thinking, I have no idea what this is going to be like, or
Yeah, well...
did you have any preconceived notions?
Yes and no. To me, branding was kind of a foreign concept when we first started the process. I understood the basic idea of what branding was, and in my mind, at its basic essence, is the logo. But that's very basic. And I now know through our process, and we'll go through that in a little bit, a lot more about what branding really is. But,
Right.
So the only thing I knew going into it was that I needed something that was going to identify who I was
Okay.
as a business owner and as the business itself. And I also knew that it had to fit my personality. And my personality wasn't the typical, what you would see from most photography logos, which were, and still to this day is popular. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just not my personality.
The icon of a camera.
Either
or
the
a
icon of a camera
lens.
or a signature. Or a signature line. That's just not me. That's not who I was.
I think it's because photographers sign their pictures sometimes and it looks like, I don't know.
I think that's part of it. And, like I said, I'm not taking away from that. It just wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in having my signature on my logo. It's just not who I am. And I think I remember telling Justin that when we first sat down was, please don't make me a signature logo. It's not my kind of style.
Well, you already had some business cards because you needed something quick.
Yes.
So you'd gone to an online vendor and you had these cards that had your name on it and had some of the services that you provide.
It may or may not have rhymed with list of print.
Do you have any of those old ones? I know it
still
was
do.
some time ago, but
I still do, yes.
you should show us a visual.
You know what? I'll take a picture of it and we can put it in the show notes.
If
Share
that's
it in my
okay with you,
original.
Justin.
Oh, yeah. I actually might have an image of one, but I think you have some of the old cards.
I do.
And it was...
Before and after Justin.
Exactly. Well, it was... Vistaprint provides a lot of templates, and then you just fill in your information.
And that's basically what I had done.
I think the photography one they had, it was like a camera lens with some...
Aperture thing, something like that.
Yeah, some kind of special effects. And it was fine. It had your information on it, but it wasn't you. And there were like 300 other photographers out there with the same exact card.
Well, that's the other problem when you use those templates is exactly that.
Right.
It was funny because right after we did my branding, I went off to a conference in Texas. And I pulled out my cards, my newly made cards, and I saw somebody hand me a card that was the exact same template that I used to have. And I thought to myself, oh, thank goodness I don't have that.
And then you pull out their card and you're like, wait, is this my card? Oh, no, it's their card.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they all look alike.
But, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but we'll talk about afterwards when you finally had the deliverables ready, some of the responses we got.
So you had put together something because you needed something to promote yourself.
Yes, it was very short-sighted, but yes.
But
something.
it was templated. So the goal here was really to give you something distinctive that fit you and that could also scale as your business grew.
Which is something I had never even thought about when I thought about a logo, it's like, okay, well, I need a logo so I can put it on my business cards and maybe my website, and I'm good.
Right. And I was thinking long term. I wanted to provide an identity for your business, not just like the little rubber stamp that you could, of a logo that you could just put
Throw
everywhere.
Yeah.
So the good thing was you already had a good cache of photography available, and I knew that was very important because that is one of the things that distinguishes you. Your work distinguishes you from other photographers. But I didn't want to just stop there. So some of the goals that we talked about definitely need to stand out, distinguish yourself from other photographers. I didn't want to use the typical signature thing.
Yeah.
Also, something that could scale as your business grew. And like I mentioned earlier, it was good that we had already known each other, so I had a pretty good handle on
Yeah,
your
but you only
personality.
knew me for what, 15 years
15
prior?
years at that point, yeah.
So what would be different if you didn't know Bill? Like, do you feel like the discovery process would have changed a little?
Would have been longer, right?
Yeah, I think we'd have had to spend some time talking about, what your goals were and how you wanted to represent yourself to
Yes.
the public, how you wanted to distinguish yourself, what made you unique, and just get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to do with a lot of other clients is just get to know them a little bit and as much as possible so that I can represent them well with the brand.
So that process was just shortened with us in this one. But
Right. So some of the things that you gave me, which helped in the process, is you had a business statement that you had written up, which was helpful. And I would say in regards to working with clients, I always try to gather as much information from them as possible. So if you have a mission statement, let me take a look at that. If you have a business plan, please let me take a look at that. Because that often gives me a lot of information in regards to your business goals and your target demographic and all of that. We talked about the different types of photography that you were going to do.
yes.
So that we know, okay, you're going to be doing this kind of work, commercial work, portraiture work, events. And so just basically gathering information. You also sent me some sites of other
Other
photographers
websites,
that
I
you
liked.
admired,
Yes.
which is helpful. And I think you sent me a couple too that were like, please don't do this.
Yes.
That's good, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. I just didn't know how to get there. And I think that's where going with somebody like Justin is important because as a business owner, we know our business. We know what we want to be and what we want to look like, but we don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest part of this whole process was knowing how to get where I want. I didn't know how to get where I wanted to go.
Can I share a quote from Nicole?
Sure,
When
go
she
for it.
saw our logo, she said, I quote, "It's everything I wanted, but I didn't know I wanted."
Yep.
So that's exactly what she said when she saw our
Well,
logo.
Well,
That
when we-
Justin did, by the way.
Well, when we get to the deliverable part, you'll see what my response was. But
Right. So collected a bunch of information, and then I needed to put together some sort of, I had to kind of go away into my little cave and, take all of
I
this.
literally pictured Justin locking himself up for days in the basement
I didn't
or
see him for
something in
months
the creative
afterwards. I don't know what-
process.
Right.
he kept ducking me for months
His
afterwards.
family
I
just
don't
throws him some bread.
You okay down there, Dad? Yeah, I'm fine.
know. I'll live.
So-
The sacrifices.
Well, it's just part of the process because now that I've collected all the data I can from Bill, I have to sort of marinate in it for a little bit. I have to get familiar with it, and I have to kind of. There's a process,
Yeah,
know.
oh, yeah.
And I think I've talked about this in prior episodes, where I have to go through everything that I think is, sort of typical or what you would expect, because I have to go through that. I have to look at it and go, nope, that's not going to work, and set it aside.
Yeah,
And if you
yeah.
don't go through that, it's always in the back of your mind that, well, what if I did this? It's like, so you do it, and then you look at it and go, nope, that's not right, and you set it aside.
Yeah, you've actually shared some of your notes from the past of, I think it was Able X when you did.
Yeah,
was that-
sketches and
sketches and
things.
stuff like that, yeah.
You have to go through that. There's no shortcuts in the process. So this is why, when I sit down with someone, I say, look, this branding process, it's going to take a little while,
Yeah.
right? Because I have to get down to the real stuff. And you have to go through all of the stuff that's not a good fit. If you think about it, at least you're like, if you're going out and saying, okay, I have this event that I'm going to go to and I need a new outfit, right? You're not going to just walk up to the first store you come across, walk right to the rack and go, yep, that's it right there.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through. You're gonna try stuff on and go, is this right? No.
Now, is that process
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
The time that process takes, does it change based on the client, or is it just a rough?
I would say there's a minimum requirement. Now, sometimes it takes longer depending on the requirements of the job. Like I recently worked on some branding for 3 different companies that were merging
That would take a lot longer.
Ooh.
and they wanted the parent company branding, but they also wanted to retain the child company branding. So it had a lot of moving parts. So that obviously took a lot longer.
Sure.
But with you, because we knew each other, I think I was able to shorten that up a little
Sure.
bit. But I still had to go through the process. I still had to, try some things. But early on, I knew that one of the things I really wanted to try was something that would reflect the experience of a customer working with you and knowing you, getting to know you.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking about all of these other brands that have faces, right? And avatars. So you think of like the Wendy's logo, or you think of the, when you go to the grocery store, the bounty guy, the lumberjack guy.
I was waiting for him to
towels.
say Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
That was in there too.
Well, Bill kind of looks like Mr. Clean.
That's what I was waiting for.
But yeah,
That's
Mr.
exactly what I
Clean's
was
another
waiting
one, right? So you have all these brands that have these personas, right?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
avatars. And in a way, it does help you connect with the brand because there's that face-to-face connection or human-to-human connection. And I knew that one of the things that we wanted to project for you was that you were accessible, easy to work with. You're the kind of person like someone could say, I could see sitting down and having a beer with this person, right? That even though you were a skilled craftsman, and really good at what you do, that, you weren't one of sort of like an aloof artiste, It's
No,
like-
you're never going to catch me wearing a beret.
right. So you're very accessible and I think easy to work with. And that was one of the things that we wanted to project in the brand.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about all these other brands that have these personas that make them very inviting and very accessible. So I went back through a bunch of photos. We used to do motorcycle trips together and stuff like that. And I thought, let me see if I can find some candid photos of you. And I found one that I thought was great. It was a nice candid snapshot. And I started using that as a base for developing this persona, this avatar.
Yes.
And that's where we ended up.
Yeah.
So I put together a presentation to show you. And the first, thing that the presentation had was a list of all the goals that we had set down.
Yes.
And then,
correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to put that in the notes.
I'll actually put the presentation that I presented to you in the show notes so people can see how that kind of laid out.
We actually went back and dug it up.
Wow.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. And so there was the reveal, like, okay, here's the logo. And it was an avatar of your face, your smiling face, with some typography. Now, what was your first reaction when you saw that?
Wow, it's big in me. It's big, my big old head right in the middle of well, you got to understand, and you'll see it in the notes. He had my face all over all kinds of things: business cards, coffee mugs, vehicle wraps,
Right.
postcards. So I was like,
So
whoa.
that's the point that Justin made earlier when you said your logo and your brand needs to scale with you. I think some people may not understand
Yeah.
what that means when you say it has to scale with you.
Right. So one of the things I do when I present these concepts, and for you, like normally I would present more than one concept, but for you it was like
yeah, heck with
I
you.
was just
This
going to
is
ask
one
that if you got
concept.
more.
No, one concept.
That's how well he knows you.
Well,
Bill.
yeah, I mean,
this is either going to fly or die.
Well, no, but the truth is, we have known each other. We've known each other for many years, so it was a case of he knew who I was.
Okay.
So it wasn't a case of having to, spend an inordinate amount of time having him figure out who I was.
Right.
He knew that.
But I also knew it was going to be a bit of a shock for him to see this.
Oh, sure. I
So-
mean, anytime you see your own face on
Right.
things, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute.
But I also wanted you to see, like, not just the identity in a vacuum, but how it was going to play itself out in your marketing. So
Yeah.
I did the mock-up of the business cards, and I did the mock-up of the postcards, and the mock-up of your website and your social media. And then we went even further and said, okay, here's what it would look on the side of a van as a vehicle wrap, and here's how it would play out on a coffee mug, and here's, to get you to imagine a little bit about how this is going to scale. And not just the identity, but how we were going to use your photography
Yeah.
in marketing you as well. So like on your business cards now, on one side is, your avatar, of your face. And then on the back is photography, right? And I went out and selected a vendor, moo.com, which
Yes.
I love.
Great
And
vendor.
they're a high-end vendor, right? They're not the cheapest kids on the block. But one of the advantages is, two distinct advantages. One is they allow you to do multiple images on one side of the card.
yes.
And I knew I wanted to leverage that because you didn't just have one type of photography that you were going to promote, right? They had the commercial, you had the portraiture, you had the events.
Yes.
And because you had a great cache of photography, I wanted to leverage that and say, okay, we're going to split this up. So you're going to have some photography for events, some
Yes.
photography commercial, some for portraitures and the wedding stuff that you were doing at that time.
Yes.
And that way you could really strategically hand these cards out. If you were at a car show, right, you were going to hand out the car that had the car on the back,
Yes,
right? The
yes.
66 Mustang. And if you were at a wedding, you were going to hand out the card that had the wedding photography on the back,
yep.
right? So you could really drill down your marketing. And it was almost like, collector's cards, you know?
Yeah.
If someone had one of your older cards, you said, oh, what? I just made a brand new batch of cards. Here's one with a motocross thing on the back. And they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And they would actually start collecting these business cards.
Well,
Right. You got to like Pokemon Go.
our interns over here. But yeah, I mean, the thing is I love the thought that you put into it. It wasn't just, it wasn't just vehicle wraps and coffee mugs, but you thought about, okay, how can I leverage that business card? I mean, I know a lot of photographers, and I've yet to bump across one that uses multiple photos on their business
Which
cards.
really floors me.
I know.
That
It's
is
not like
crazy.
I was reinventing the wheel.
I actually know photographers that don't even have a picture on their card. So that's
Which again, I don't
floors me.
understand. It's like if your main business is to produce images, why do you not have an image on your?
I'm sure they have a valid reason, but that's not for my
I don't know.
work. But
Do a lot of people ask when you hand the card, like, is this your photography on the back? Or make comments? They just assume.
It's funny. I'll tell you a story that a quick story because I don't know how much time we have here. But I went to a meeting with Justin a few months back, and it was an opportunity where I was meeting a bunch of people for the first time that didn't really know too much about what I did, and I passed my cards around the room. And I didn't see it at first, but Justin made this observation, so I'll let you tell us
Well,
what you
this was
saw,
the second point that I wanted to make about the vendor,
which is the feel.
is the feel. I saw people doing this.
Yeah.
For those who can't see what Justin's doing right
They
now,
were rubbing the card.
they were rubbing the card. It's what they call a soft touch card, so it's got a little bit different texture to it than a regular business card would have.
So yeah, it's a little thicker weight. It's what they call a 16-point cardstock. It's got like a velvet or a silk finish on it. So combination with, your branding, your photography, the weight of the card, the feel of the card, it creates an entire experience. And I have seen very few people do this with other people's cards, but I saw them do it with yours, and I'm tapping you on the shoulder going, Bill, look at what they're doing.
And the interesting part about it is I actually walked out of that meeting with a booked job off of it. So it did its job. It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
But this is the kind of thinking, when I talk about scale, right? I want to provide as much of an experience with your branding as possible.
Absolutely.
So we were trying to make you distinctive, and I think we did that.
Oh,
I think between your
couldn't agree
branding
more.
and the way we positioned you with the card and the postcards that you send out and everything, it did that.
Yes.
I've been with you. We do a lot of networking together, and I've
Yeah.
been with you at events where either somebody has your card already, or they get your card and they look at the card and they look at you and go, and they just make the instant connection. They're, like,
Right.
they're never going to forget you, right?
Probably
So,
for all the right reasons.
I definitely encourage the users to look visually at the note, or the listeners to look at the notes to see the visual of the card. But like you had said earlier, like, oh, it's big and it's me. It's really not. Like, I don't think it's like, because you did that kind of abstract avatar look,
Yeah.
it's not like in your face, like this is Bill, like the
No,
real
but
estate
it's-
agent look.
No.
No.
But it's unsettling for somebody like me
Right.
who's used to being behind the camera. To all of a
Yes.
sudden see myself.
And I think that's a
Front and
differentiator, though, because a lot of photographers and videographers like to be on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
Your face is on your card, but it's done so in a way that's like very subtle and artistic, and it's just very, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but
it's
it's
friendly.
not. It's friendly. Yes, like you said before, it's friendly. It's not in your face. It's more. It works. It just works.
And here's the interesting part about this, and I don't want to get too far off track, but the scalability that Justin built into my branding has helped, because I've had a little bit of a shift in my business over the last year or so, where I'm not doing quite as much weddings and portraiture, but a lot more on the commercial side. But he baked in enough into the branding that I was able to make the change, and it was subtle enough that nobody even really noticed the difference. So we had some color coding for different types of. If you look at the bottom of each one of the photos on my business card,
Oh, you started using a different color too.
yeah, I actually changed the color for the
Oh, okay.
I think I used that for, I forget what it was for, but
Do you have your other ones?
yeah,
with
I
you?
have some here.
So yeah, we got to back up a little bit. So I don't do this with all my clients, but I was able to do it with Bill because he's works with a lot of the same programs that I do. So what I did was I gave him the templates for these cards, and that way when he wanted to change up the photos, he could just go in and change them up and send them right to the vendor.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to come to me. So what we did was we set up a color coding system for the different types of photography that he does. So you can see, like, there's a blue one, a green one, there's a red one. And that way people that were getting these cards could, the branding was consistent. So if it was events, it was, if it was portraiture, it was blue. If it was
yeah.
events, it was green. And we started color coding these.
yeah.
And it was just part of the process of
Yeah.
saying, hey, this is how we're going to distinguish one type of photography from another.
So it was nice because it really allowed me to expand things as time went on. So
Yeah, and the photography, I think is great. The images that you've selected for these cards, I think,
yeah,
really, talks about what kind of product your
Yeah.
customer can expect. So you've got the branding, the friendliness of that, the accessibility of that, and then you've got samples of your work. I mean, we've packed a lot into these cards.
sure. And like you said, the best part for me on my end is that I can change if I get bored with a picture on
Just
one
change
of
it
I
out.
just change it out, put
Yeah.
a new image in place.
Change it out.
What was
What's-
this picture from?
That was from actually. It's funny we just went past that recently. That was from one of the Gatsby Day parades a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and
it
it
is
just-
very historic looking.
I just happened to
attire.
like the image, and it stuck, and it fits well with with some of
Yeah.
my other stuff. So
And it's unique.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
It's yeah.
It's unique.
I'm like,
So-
this isn't a wedding, and it's
No,
it's
actually
definitely.
it's actually a parade shot, an
Yeah.
event shot. Yeah.
So what has been what's been your favorite card, or maybe the favorite card of like people saying, "Oh, I really like this card."
It's funny, but that Mustang shot you're talking about, that is probably you talk about collector's cards.
Yeah.
That is probably the most sought after card that I get.
Is the Mustang one?
The Mustang one, surprisingly.
If you did one with dogs, I would collect them.
I
Just throwing it out there.
There you go,
I
Bill.
think that's in my repertoire.
Puppies, love.
But I'd say that's probably my number one card is the Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
Right behind that is probably I have a couple of ones that have I don't have them with me today, but a couple that have some drone shots on it. Like I have one of McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket.
That's
That's a iconic one, so people
Yeah.
kind of like that one. so.
Exactly.
But I've yet to have somebody go, "Ooh, can I?" It'd be kind of cool if they did this though. I already have this one. Can I have it? I'm collecting them, and I need a different one.
I need to get our intern Will to create a game based around your business cards, and that way people could do battles.
Should
and
I
stuff.
number the back of them or something?
Oh.
One of 500.
Oh, that would be.
You could just play that matching game. You know the kids
Oh, the
game where you have-
concentration?
Yeah, we have to.
Well, no. Okay, this is going way off track. But do you remember? Did you collect baseball cards when you were a kid at all?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Well, baseball cards, what they would do every season was they would come out with a new set of cards, based obviously because you have different players every season.
Right.
And typically they would decide on the number of cards in a set. It might be 200. I don't even remember what the numbers were. It might have been 300 cards in the set, right? And each card was numbered 1 of 300, 2 of 300, 3 of 300.
Limited edition.
So that way you knew you had collected every one of them.
Right.
So maybe I just have to do that for every year.
Okay. This card is 1 of 20. You
For
have
2019, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could do something like that. I mean, we were just talking with Bob Salvis about, unique promotional items. That's certainly would give a unique angle to
Yeah.
it that, I doubt you're going to see from anybody else. It's like limited editions, 1 through 20. And
Well, and the other thing is, like I said, it looks fresh because I can change things anytime I want.
right, so it doesn't get stale. So trying to kind of wrap this up in a bow here, what would you say were the most valuable things that you took away from this experience of letting you develop your brand?
Well, there was so much I took away from it, quite frankly.
Well, not just the process, but also the outcome.
Well, it's hard to pick just one, so I'll throw a couple at you here.
All right.
One was the process itself. You got me thinking outside the box, so to speak. I hate to use cliches, but you got me thinking more about just, like I said, I walked into this going, I just need a new logo. That's my brand, and I came out of it having a whole business identity. I think that's the best way to put it.
Okay.
People think of branding and they don't necessarily connect that end of it, but it's an identity. Who you are as a business is shown through your branding.
Right, how you present yourself.
And we've talked about that numerous times before. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it was I have something that I'm proud to show a potential client. To me, it was really important. I knew I had those cheapy Vistaprint cards, and they did fine for what I needed them to do. But they weren't who I was.
Right.
And I can feel good about handing out one of these cards and not have to worry about somebody going, what kind of poser is this guy?
Or like you, when you handed out those cards, it's like, is this my card or your card?
Yeah,
Because
well,
it's just a template.
And it was unique. And the coolest thing about the whole thing is the scalability. I have to keep harping on that because I love the ability that I know if I want to do a vehicle wrap down the line, I can do that.
Right, if you want to do some sort of merchandise like apparel or something like that.
We had Bob Salvas talking about promotional materials.
Right.
If I wanted to put my logo on it, it's going to look great.
I think we made you some little stickers too.
Yeah, I actually have one on my laptop. You can see right there.
Yeah, so and those are versatile because you can, if you're giving a client, a package of some sort, you can put that little sticker on there, or or just as a promotional item.
Well, and the nice thing about that is I can be confident that no matter what type of correspondence I'm having with a potential client, it's going to be consistent across the board. It's not going to be, okay, this has got my logo on it, but that doesn't.
Right.
It was important to me to make sure my branding was on point and was going to stay that way for a long time. Does it mean that things aren't going to get updated at some point in time? Well, maybe, but for now, I don't see any reason why I need to.
All right.
So that's. Did I answer your question the best?
Yeah, you did. You did. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the experience because
I did.
And I feel good about what we were able to produce.
Oh, I absolutely love my branding. So, like I said, at first there was a little off. Wait a minute, there's my face.
Yeah, there's my face, which is going to be everywhere.
Well, the one thing I will say about Justin was he said, go home, live with it for a little bit. He didn't expect me to make a decision immediately the minute he showed me this branding package.
Right.
And I got home and showed it to my wife, and a couple of days later, I thought about it. I like this, So
yeah, and it is. I mean, it is a process. It is.
Oh yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest distinguishing marks between what I do with clients and a client just going into an online service and having somebody overseas design them a logo.
Yeah.
That they can stamp on their business cards or their website.
They don't know you.
There's really no process there. Or very little process, and what you come away with can feel a little generic. It doesn't feel like you.
And usually it'll become dated pretty quickly too.
Yeah, especially if you start seeing other people with the similar design. Yep. I mean,
so if there's somebody that was looking to go through this process with you, how would they get in touch with Justin?
Well, you can contact me through my website, which is justinkerrdesign.com. You can also find me on Facebook, although I still have to get a business Facebook page.
Yeah, you do.
I just have a personal one right now. But you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, Justin Kerr Design on Instagram.
Now, can they email you through your website, or do you have
an email address? You can email me directly at justin@justinkerrdesign.com, but I also have a contact form.
And whatever you do, don't put the S on the end of design.
Yes. I have. That has happened quite a bit. I get introduced to people. They're like, this is Justin of Justin Kerr Designs. And I'm like,
I've even done it accidentally once.
Yeah, no, it's just design, singular. But yeah, you can reach me through my website or direct email, and we'll put all those links in.
Yes. Well, thank you, Justin, for running through the process today. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. It's kind of interesting because this is something that happened 3 years ago. And when you said, let's do an episode on this, I thought, I'm going to go back and look at my notes and just see like how much of this still holds true. But it really did. I was, the goals that we had set, the outcome now 3 years later, I can see we really did hit on those goals. So that I think was probably the most successful aspect of it for me is like, we did this right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's still working. So it'll keep working until it's not, and then we'll do something else.
And to me, that's a sign of a good brand. Is if you can look back at it 3 or 4 years later and go, yeah, still working. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Justin.
All right.
Appreciate it. And we're at that same time we're at every week where we have to say goodbye for now, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today. And as always, you can find the back episodes of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you can also find us on our YouTube channel. Both of them are the Marketing Essentials team.
You can find us on the web at marketingessentialsteam.com. And if you subscribe through our website, you'll receive a weekly email and letting you know when each episode has been published. Also, you'll receive a link to subscriber-only content.
You can also find us on Facebook in our private Facebook group. Just search Little Roadie Marketing Support Group. It's a great place for other marketing professionals and business owners where we can share marketing advice, challenges, and general trends. Hope to see you there.